These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Real calm, real presence, real veteran, great on the bench. It's nice to see somebody come in and fit in like that and feel comfortable. But he's a pro. Obviously, he's been around. He knows what to do and what to expect, and didn't take him long with the systems. He's dialed in right away. Came right into our room this morning and asked questions, and obviously, we showed him video, but the questions were great as far as allowing him to have success within the system here tonight.
Oh, it's a hockey guy right there, man.
Yeah, it is.
We need a hockey sounder like this. Did George Carlin do a bit on hockey too?
I don't think George ever went to a hockey game.
No?
Unfortunately for us.
Okay. Mackey and Judd here on this Monday. Daily Minnesota sports, entertainment, therapy, speculation. The Minnesota Wild have won 8 of their last 9 games. 3 of them on the road. They beat Calgary on Saturday, 3-0. The Gus Bus with another shutout. They get Calgary again here on Tuesday. I guess my question to you guys, the Judd's Hockey Show contingent, is what's happening here? What's actually happening with this Wild team? Because they now sit in the Western Conference. They sit 4 points out of the number 1 overall seed, which is now the Vegas Golden Knights with 82, the Stars at 81. The Kings are in there at 80. It's a hodgepodge. But what are we witnessing? The aggressiveness at the deadline, the calculated aggressiveness, the rise up the standings. Should we be alert for something big and special here, I guess, is my question.
I would caution against that. I would caution against
always
that because
would,
I
though.
can't
That's the problem.
because I can't decide yet. Well, here's what
you were cautioning people like in the 98 season, in the 2009 Brett Favre. There's not a season in which you wouldn't caution people, I guess.
Right, exactly right. You know why? Because I am not a black and white guy. I am a guy who takes the tone of the 1 to 10. Where should we stand with this team? And a month ago, it was about a 3. It was very disappointing. Now it's probably up to about a 7, which is very nice. But I'm still cautioning you it's not a 10. What we're witnessing here is actually very, very simple. This was a team that a month and a half ago looked like it might miss the playoffs entirely and had far too many guys trying to play outside of how they can play. What we have seen since is they were told basically, if you want to win, you will play to the system that we're playing. Which, as I talked about this with Dex on JHS last week. It is a variation. It's not as boring, but it's definitely a variation of the 2003 Jacques Lemaire team. You crack down defensively, you play to your system, you play to your strengths, and any goals that you score, you look up to the heavens and say, thank you, Lord, because we just scored a goal. Aside from Kaprizov, who can score, but didn't score on Saturday, and they actually scored 3 5-on-5 goals on Saturday. But what we're seeing too, what Bill Guerin did at the deadline, which Dex and I jumped on with our friends AJ and Jesse and talked about live. It was absolutely so much fun. What Bill Guerin did was absolutely genius because he told the players, he said, if you prove that you deserve help, I will get you help. And then what he did during the course of the last week was he went out and got 4 players. Gustav Nyquist, who actually could score some goals, is hurt and probably won't play until the playoffs if he does play. But he went out and got 3 players on expiring contracts, veterans who can help, but essentially cost the team nothing as far as mortgaging top prospects or top draft picks for the future. And so Bill Guerin lived up to exactly what he said, but, he didn't go try and get Patrick Kane. He didn't go and try and get Timo Meier. He didn't go and say, my God, I'm going to sell the farm. He basically supplemented the roster with very workmanlike, better players. He traded Greenway, which was fantastic. Addition by subtraction.
How did he get a 2nd-round pick and a 5th for Greenway's carcass?
So I was on. I was on a Buffalo station this morning, and
wow.
basically
was it WGR.
Okay. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
On the morning show, talking about Jordan Greenway.
With Jeremy.
Well, yeah, and they're very excited about it. So Don
They're very
Granato,
excited about Greenway.
Yes, and here's why. So, and believe me, we've heard this story before. So Don Granato, who actually played with Kevin Gorg on the state title, I think it was 84 championship team at Burnsville, is the coach in Buffalo now. And he coached Greenway along with Tage Thompson in the USA program at one point. And not surprisingly, Don remembers Jordan at his best. So he can get the most from him. So according to the quote that was played on WGR from Sabres GM Kevin Adams, Don Granato was literally pounding the table saying, go get him. Do whatever you have to do. Hence a second-round pick, which is incredible. But anyway, whether they can fix him or not, the Wild couldn't, and he's gone, and that's a positive. And what the Wild has now is it has the polar opposite of last year, and we'll see if it works. It has a workmanlike team that has one skilled player, that has the rest of the lines basically understanding they have to work their asses off, and it's not high-flying, it's not sexy. And I would argue that if you are a fan from outside the state, it's not even fun to watch. And that is how you can potentially win, potentially in playoff hockey. So I'm just cautioning you. I'm not saying they're going to go on a run, but this does remind me a lot of 2003 in the fact this is a workmanlike, diligent team that right now understands what it has to do. The question is, if when you get to the playoffs and it gets even tougher, are you willing to sacrifice and pay the price to do that?
Okay. I think you have a lot of guys who are bought into the system that are playing, to Judd's point. It's very similar to that 2003 team, but with an even better superstar stacked up from Kaprizov next to Gaborik. Gaborik was really good. Kaprizov is on a complete different level than Marian Gaborik at his prime. So you have two goalies, right, that are capable of playing in playoff games. And by the way, Marc-Andre Fleury has been playing a lot better, too, over this win streak. You have a defensive system that's really working. And you have other players that are probably just making yourself a lot deeper. Marcus Johansson isn't going to all of a sudden, start scoring a ton of goals, but he's probably a better option to be playing significant minutes over Jordan Greenway, over Sam Steele. Gustav Nyquist is the really interesting one who's still on IR. And if he comes back potentially before the playoffs, you might have another great offensive threat there. The Klingberg acquisition was the surprise one. So that one came in right at the edge of the trade deadline, and that one took me and Judd by surprise. John Klingberg at one time was probably one of the 5 best offensive moving defensemen in the NHL. He's a quarterback of a power play. He can do a lot of great things at his position offensively. However, he is in the midst of one of the worst defensive seasons by an NHL defender in NHL history. He allows more shots and more goals per 60 than any defender in the NHL when he is on the ice. Now, Anaheim themselves are one of the worst defensive teams, so that isn't helping him. But that is what spawned his exit also out of Dallas from a year ago. So the Wild are betting that even though he is statistically the worst defensive defender in the NHL,
that's reassuring.
He can be propped up in a system that screams really good defense, use his skills on the power play, which are still very much alive and not a liability, and that makes you also a little bit more dangerous. They're finding new ways to still create offense and win games, and they're going to try their best to probably win a lot of 2-1, 3-2 games. This is not the Wild team from last year that I think had the second most 5-on-5 goals in the NHL. This team isn't going to scare you offensively, but they're going to bank on the fact that their stellar goaltending is going to make 4 to 5 huge saves for them. They're going to convert some power play chances, and Kirill Kaprizov is good enough to keep them winning games and taking them in a deep playoff run. So we'll see how sustainable that is, but I'm curious if it can sustain itself through the rest of the regular season and then in the postseason too.
I saw people ripping you guys, excuse me, for calling him Jonathan Klingberg on the reaction show. Did you guys call him Jonathan? Someone call him Jonathan. His name is John, and you guys were getting. I just saw him going through like the Score North at replies during this.
I don't even remember.
Someone just blacked out and called him Jonathan.
Well, if Jonathan can play really good defense, I'll take that Jonathan Klingberg over
Johnny. He's going to be Johnny Klingberg.
Johnny Klingberg,
here.
I'd take that.
My guess is his birth certificate might say Jonathan.
I don't know, man.
Like we'll have to find out.
Let's see. Wikipedia wouldn't lie, right? He's probably has a Wikipedia.
Wikipedia page. Never lies.
Never lies.
I want to make sure here. So I don't know. No, it's just John. It's John Anderson Klingberg. A Swedish professional hockey defenseman.
Oh, we got all the Swedes now, you guys.
Yeah, we got all the Swedes.
We got all the Swedes.
Big
We got
Swedes.
Klingberg. We got Johansson. We got Sundqvist now. We got Nyquist.
Minnesota Sweden.
His middle name is Anderson with 2 S's, which is the most Swedish thing,
Swedish
right?
thing ever. Yeah.
I love how we jumped on and did a show basically just for an hour and a half, and somebody's takeaway was, you called him Jonathan.
The main takeaway of
That's
all
an
the takes,
awesome-
everything is that you expanded his name.
Like, I could certainly see some folks, questioning our takes, but I love the fact that the name, that's offensive.
I think Jonathan Klingberg sounds like more of an official hockey name than John Klingberg. So I see where you're at with that. But I guess so. To what extent did they put themselves in a position to do something they haven't done since? You guys keep referencing the 2003 team. I think sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around this, but the 10 years of Parise, Suter, and all the young players that came through, right? They never made it to the conference finals.
Correct. They
never made it beyond the second round of the playoffs. So in a Western Conference maybe Colorado wakes up at some point. Maybe Dallas has been very impressive this year. I'm not saying there aren't good teams in the West, but with the moves they made, the style that they're trying to play, the heat check that they're on right now at the right time of year, to what extent did they put themselves in a position to do something they haven't done in 20 years, which is get to the conference finals, or maybe even, oh my gosh, beyond the conference finals?
Let me first of all say the heat check concerns me a little bit, because in this league, like, a heat check can come, like right now, Tampa Bay's playing awful. And I'm sort of like, their playoff spot's locked. That's pretty cool, because we have certainly seen teams, the playoffs come, flip a switch. So I guess my question is, because the Wild had to start to play like it was the playoffs a month ago. So is that going to catch up to them? But as far as how they're built, Bill Guerin basically embraced it, and good for him. He basically said, we can't score goals. I know that. So the players who are here have to realize that and have to start playing a certain style, which Evison loves, don't get me wrong. But second of all, they acquired a bunch of players who are going to play that style. Klingberg's the only outlier to that, but the most important thing is, and he talked about this, when he was signed by the Ducks, first of all, because he didn't have a great last season in Dallas, he was signed by the Ducks to a 1-year, $7 million contract and had expected to get multi-years, okay? So he got there to a really bad team and started to basically say, I got to play like I did at 25, which he can't. And that led to his defensive demise. He started on Saturday on the third defensive pairing with Jonathan Merrill, Johnny Merrill, John Merrill, and he played great.
Let me look it up on Wikipedia to make sure.
I think it's Jon. I might just be John, but he played great, because guess what? The expectation was not, here he comes to save the day. Yeah. The expectation was, do your job, run the power play, and he did great. So I think that's going to be fine. But what this is a really, really smart move by Bill Guerin in embracing how the team plays and realizing that playing a big, heavy style in the playoffs is actually fine. It might work. So I would say, as far as rolling the dice on the direction, this was brilliant. I will also say this, though, and I don't know if Dex agrees with this or not, but in my opinion, this in no way reflects the future. Like, the future's bright, hopefully. Bunch of prospects coming. They're going to be quicker. They're going to score more, right? So, like, I don't think what we're seeing now is the template. Like, with Jacques Lemaire, it was the template. He was going to play this style until he was gone. What this is to me is a nod to how you have to play and the necessary guys that you had to get to say, okay, if we're going to take a chance right now, here's how we have to do it. In 2 years, though, I expect the style to be completely different.
And they wound up, when you look at like the incoming players and then the outgoing assets, it's actually kind of amazing when you line it up. They get a small handful of quality players. They lose Greenway, and I get that he's 26 and there's some potential, and he's a big dude. He looks like he should be better than he is, whatever. But you wind up getting, and there was a couple like pick swaps basically, as it turns out, but you wind up actually getting more players and higher draft positioning by getting the second round pick too, which is kind of without jeopardizing your future.
Yeah, they have all their first round picks, all their second round picks. They have the Vegas Golden Knights pick this year in the second round. So they still have 3 selections in the top 2 rounds of the NHL draft this year. They don't have third round selections over the next 2 drafts. Guerin basically was able to be a buyer at the deadline and still not have to give up significant assets in draft picks, in significant prospects. That the Wild do have the number 1 prospect pool in the NHL. And that's pretty amazing. Also, while still fielding a roster that has 15% in dead money cap hits going against them. It's impressive what he was able to do. To the point of Judd's making of long term, this is how the Wild have to win right now. They can't just flip the switch. They tried to do this at times this year where, all right, if you lost Kevin Fiala, who is going to replace all that production? Well, no sole player can, because no one on this team is really capable of playing up to Kevin Fiala's level. And then you have guys like Matt Boldy, who's a great prospect and has kind of even graduated from prospect status and gets a long-term deal. And he finally scores over the weekend, but he went 15 consecutive games without scoring a goal. And that's a guy that has to eventually start scoring some goals for you. You're paying him to be that guy. So you can't just flip a switch and be the 5-on-5 dominant team that you were last year. And next season, who knows? Maybe guys like Boldy becomes a 30-40 goal scorer. Maybe Marco Rossi comes up here and is immediately plugged in and he's really good. And then you're scoring more offense. But right now, your goaltending is solid with 2 dudes. You don't know what that always looks like year to year. It's a very crazy position. And this is how they have to win games. So is it the sexiest way? No. But it's how they're going to have to win games this year and how they're going to want to make a lengthy playoff run.
And then upcoming on their schedule here, they do have a ton of road games coming up here. They do get the home game against Calgary, but they go, it's home against Calgary, and then a back-to-back up to Winnipeg on a Wednesday, a few days off. But then you have another West Coast back-to-back, San Jose and Arizona. So, but honestly, like the back-to-backs, at least you've got 2 goalies that you feel pretty darn good about here. They've both pitched shutouts in the last week and a half. So we'll see. But the schedule gets a little tumultuous here and there. And then they have another back-to-back middle of March. They have Boston and Washington both at home. They have 3 back-to-backs in the next 2.5 weeks on their schedule. Woof.
Yep. And I think the thing, too, is, Gustafson's playing fantastic right now. And to what Declan said, Fleury has definitely improved. But the most important thing is the defensive responsibility shown in front of them is the key here. And that again, is what? Roley and Manny in 2003. You can lift your goaltenders up by playing smart. And that does not mean that you don't need key saves. Case in point, I think it was the 3rd period on Saturday night. But Calgary got a breakaway. Tyler Toffoli, who's really good. And guess what? Gustafson stopped him. So that's an absolutely key save. But Gustafson also was not peppered with pucks all night. And so, if you can get that save, if you can get 4 to 5 just really, really key saves, and the rest of the shots are from the perimeter, that's where you can win playoff games. It's not fun to watch unless it's your team, in which case it's great fun to watch.
And it's not just, Manny Roley, it's Devin Dubnyk, it's Alex Stalock. They have been able to plug in basically what are league average goaltenders, and they exceed their projection and expectation. However, come playoff time, you can't have a sieve in there. Like Marc-Andre Fleury kind of wilted last year. Devin Dubnyk at times wilted in the playoffs. So you have to have your goalie. The system's great, but in the playoffs, to Judd's point, you need a goalie that gives you 4 to 5 huge saves that are tough saves, but the goalie has to make them.
I got a feeling that we might be dusting off the old Ode to Joy. At some point in the month of April or May.
Where is it?
Are you saying this could be flying?
He's got the wild flag.
This is the original flag. It all started with this. Woo! Woo-hee! All right.
A shout out to our friends at Dennis Kirk, by the way, and DennisKirk.com. We appreciate them supporting Score North. It's been a long winter. We just got dumped on again last night, but riding season is on the horizon. Make sure your motorcycle or whatever you ride, Indian, Metric Cruiser, Sport Bike, Harley, make sure it's ready through Dennis Kirk and DennisKirk.com. Over 180,000 parts and accessories in stock, clothing and helmets. Shipping is free for orders over $89. Order before 8 p.m. and they ship the same day. Everything you need for your ride at DennisKirk.com. New segment alert for you guys. That's right, new segment alert here on Mackey and Judd. Not quite weekend statements, Dex. Not quite weekend statements.
I just put that there because funniest thing from the internet doesn't really fit on the banner, so it's still a statement from over the weekend to a degree.
I don't know if it's a statement from over the weekend. It's the
observations.
Your favorite thing from the internet this weekend.
Favorite thing.
I'm not sure if weekend statements fits the banner. Can you just type something else in, or?
Okay, yeah, I did type something else in, but it was ridiculed. So
Funniest thing.
Yeah.
Dot, dot, dot.
What is the funniest? Not even the funniest. What is your favorite? Could be
favorite
something,
thing? Dot,
Favorite
dot, dot.
thing.
your
It doesn't have
favorite-
to be
We did
explanatory
discuss
completely.
this before the show. I
The
think.
graphics don't have to be completely explanatory. So in Declan's defense, he could just put favorite
Why don't you just
thing,
put
dot, dot, dot.
placeholder graphic on
Yeah.
the bottom? Just
Favorite thing from the weekend.
There you go.
Why don't you put this, Dex? Mackey is an ass. That's ASS.
I mean, ass. We're not to weekend statements yet. We will get.
It's a Monday and we're already fighting. Is this how it's going to be this week?
Yeah. I'm leaving again on Friday, so thank God.
Yeah, I know you are. Thanks
I'm looking for
jumping in.
your favorite thing from the internet this weekend. And the inspiration for this came, I'm going to try and pop this up on the screen for you guys here. This is just a screenshot. My favorite thing from the internet this weekend, and maybe every weekend, is the Anthony LaPanta family dinner photos. Always brought to you by Kowalski's Market. I don't know if he's like a Kowalski's influencer or what the deal is, or if he just loves Kowalski's.
That's a good call.
Look at these. They got fillets. You've got some sort of like arugula fruit salad, some green bean mix, and some sautéed shrimp.
Absolutely.
You know, Phil, that I've never thought of that. What an idiot I am. You're
I'm gonna
right.
show you the other one here,
I
too.
bet he's an influencer.
Look at this one. Okay, there's a charcuterie board in here. The pregame here. Look
Oh,
at
yeah,
this.
look at that one. Look at those
Hold on a
olives.
at this.
second. Hold on a
Easy,
second.
I know
I'm
this
gonna-
isn't great for the audio audience, but just envision the best charcuterie board you've ever seen in your life, prepared by the LaPanta
Oh,
family,
God, look at the Capicola
with some mid-shelf white wine poured perfectly into some
to the Sauvignon
nice
Blanc.
wine glasses
I'm going to text
like it.
Russo.
on a Cambria countertop or whatever this is.
Is LaPanta Kowalski's influencer? I'm going to find out. That's a great point.
He's Googling that, or what do you?
No,
Oh, he's texting
I'm texting
Mike
Russo.
Russo.
Oh, okay.
I just want to find out.
So I don't know, man.
And
This
shockingly,
guy,
I don't have LaPanta's cell phone. I know it's going to really surprise you.
I love me some Panther, and if there's ever a
tight.
chance that you would have, an open spot
Oh.
for dinner at your household, I would love to come and talk some hockey.
Bash Judd.
The hockey whisper. Yeah, we can just clown on Judd Zolgad the whole time. Be great.
So I got a question for you guys. Among just hidden gems food-wise, where does a good charcuterie board rank for you guys?
Oh, high, very high on the list. I love a charcuterie board.
The Red
Homemade
Rabbit
or
one.
restaurant, or either one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Little fig. So I like, you got the crackers, the cheese, the spreads. Those are the basics you need. But sometimes you can throw in some candied pecans, some fig.
Do you like the chocolates?
I'm out on the chocolate.
I don't think you need
Red
chocolates.
Rabbit throws in the chocolates.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't know that you need
fine.
chocolates
Yeah,
in
I
a
don't
charcuterie board.
Okay.
I agree.
I'm just curious, like how deep that you guys would take the charcuterie board.
Just give me a bunch of different cheeses, some meat, some prosciutto,
Prosciutto's
Oh, yeah.
good, yeah.
maybe
I
a
love the
mustard,
prosciutto.
a little spicy mustard or something, a little honey mustard.
I dig it.
I don't need a ton of cheeses, but that's just me. Okay, go ahead.
My favorite thing, I was watching the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and John Rahm shot a 65 on Thursday. I mean, he's been dialed for like the last 2 years, especially even this year. And he was asked this question about if anyone could ever beat him.
When you're firing on all cylinders, can anyone beat you in your mind?
No.
Poor John Rahm shot 75, 75, 72 over the next 3 rounds of the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and he still is. I mean, I think Scotty's probably going to catch him in the number one ranking here. I mean, both of them are unreal right now, but little bad timing there from my guy.
In
John
fairness,
Rahm.
the question was when you're firing on all cylinders, and he would tell you, well, when I'm shooting 75, I'm not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trick question, right?
Yeah,
Like if he's firing on all cylinders, he's shooting 65.
because on
And it's tough to
Thursday
do.
when he shot the 65, and I think even after Thursday, he was like plus 130 on a money line to win the whole tournament, which is still pretty absurd in golf. Like, I know he shot a 65. That doesn't happen in golf. Like, it's hard to predict a winner over the course of 4 days, and let alone after round one. And he did melt down, obviously, in rounds 2 and 3. But I did find that a little funny that he ended up melting down after a great 65 to open it at Arnold Palmer.
I feel like golf and baseball are two sports that will humble you aggressively quickly
Well, golf
if you get
especially.
confident.
Yeah, don't get too cocky. You win 3 tournaments to start your year. Look at Brooks Koepka.
Oh,
Hell, that guy won a bunch of majors, back-to-back U.S. Opens. I think he almost won 3 straight U.S. Opens.
Yeah,
Got a little
nice.
cocky. And then all of a sudden, Netflix is in your living room playing therapist for you while you try to figure out what's happening with your life. go take the lump sum at Live. Now he can't even finish top 10 in a Live tournament, for God's sakes.
Did Liv play the last couple days?
I don't think they
weekend?
No, I
play
don't.
This past weekend, no.
They play. They have like 14 tournaments. Although it's funny because these guys signed up for an 8 tournament schedule last year, and part of the thing is like, oh, it's a reduced schedule. It's going to be reduced, but they have to play in all the events that Live creates, and Live is now expanded to 14 mandatory events.
So they're just going to. That's smart.
Plus the 4 majors that some of these guys would play in. So you wind up playing 18 tournaments anyways. But you get paid a lot of.
But it'll be on the CW. So.
Yes. So
Hello, friends.
No one will see you struggling.
Welcome to the CW. I'm Jim Nance. I'm 87 years old now, but I'm doing the Live.
Think about how there's no one at the tournament. There's no one watching on TV.
I would.
How do you even justify? I guess you look at your bank account to justify.
Right. I hope you enjoy that though, because competitive wise, it would suck, wouldn't it?
Yeah. All right, Judd. What's your favorite thing you saw on the internet this weekend?
There's no question. My favorite thing is the attempt, and I covered this event, the Combine, previously, but I feel like it's ratcheted up. My favorite thing was the attempt to cover the Combine in a breathless fashion, as if you can really tell things from a reporter's standpoint. I don't mean players talking. That's fine. I mean the workout stuff, right? Like I found more than one site that literally tried to do where the quarterbacks now rank after the Combine and tried to provide analysis of what we saw. They are throwing against air, okay? Yeah. They're throwing against air, so they're not really throwing. Bryce Young didn't throw. Bryce Young didn't work out. He basically, I think, did the media stuff and met with teams. Yeah. But right now, it is as if these columns, articles, synopsises are trying to breathlessly say, so-and-so shifted their stock in that. You literally watch them, if you watch them, throw against no defenders and teams with stopwatches. You can tell almost nothing new. Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
It's also like you're dealing in probability. So Anthony Richardson, for instance, maybe he was before the Combine, before you had the athletic profile, maybe he was a 25% chance to become a star quarterback. And now that you've seen him run around a little bit more, maybe now he's like a 40% chance to become a star quarterback or a 60% chance.
Yes.
There's no sure thing, right?
Yes.
So, but it does help to see a guy run a 4.35 40-yard dash when you think, I think this guy's good when I watch him on film. Let's see how fast he actually is.
It's just, it's so funny that something involving a contact sport has become like, and for years now, we've just accepted that guys in their underwear and shorts are like, okay, that alters his stock greatly. It's like, okay, so are you telling me, seriously, you're telling me that you didn't know Anthony Richardson was fast?
Right.
Like, it didn't answer, like, okay, he's a freak athletically. The question is, can he throw accurately? And for that, I will say, Josh Allen crawled so Anthony Richardson can run. Because that's the comp now across the board. That can be fixed.
And the interview process probably tells you more because you get to meet the guy and see if he's mature or whatever it is.
I've got the answer for Phil. They sponsor the Russo and LaPanta pod. They give them gift cards, but he is not an influencer.
Well, no, he is then. He is an influencer.
He just loves them that much. But I thought he might be paid separately or have a separate. So, yeah. So,
but they support his podcast.
He's sponsored, yeah. But Mike said he just loves them that much.
Amazing.
So,
boy, keep the food porn.
I'm just trying to get the information. I'm the information man of this show. I'm trying to get the information going.
It's important. All right, Mackey and Judd, thanks for hanging out and discussing Kowalski's filet mignon and charcuterie board spreads. Appreciate it.